There are places in every home that feel wrong, not because of what's in them, but because of what isn't. Corners that never quite warm up, rooms that seem quieter than they should be, closets that feel deeper than their dimensions allow. For Marla Quinn, 17 and sleepless, the closet in her bedroom had always been one of those places. It didn't creak, it didn't smell, it didn't even have cobwebs. Chapter 1. The Closet Door. Her bedroom was ordinary, posters on the wall, a desk cluttered with notebooks and half-finished sketches, a lamp with a flickering bulb she never bothered to fix. The closet sat in the far corner, a narrow wooden door with a brass knob, painted the same dull white as the rest of the room. But Marla never opened it at night. Not because she was afraid, because she respected it. She'd learned, over the years, that some doors weren't meant to be opened casually. Some doors were waiting. It happened on a Tuesday, the kind of day that felt like it had already happened before. Marla came home from school, dropped her backpack, kicked off her shoes, and walked to the closet. She wasn't thinking about it. She just wanted her hoodie. She opened the door, and the world blinked. Her mother found the closet door wide open, the hoodie still hanging. Marla's phone buzzing with a missed call. No signs of struggle, no footprints, no sound, just silence. And a faint wet tapping from somewhere deep inside the walls. The police came. They asked questions. Did she run away? Was there a boyfriend? Any history of mental illness? They searched the house. They opened the closet. They found nothing. Just a narrow space, a few hangers, and a single scrap of paper on the floor. It was blank. But when her mother touched it, she heard something. A whisper. She's in the threads. The closet was measured. It was exactly 2.3 feet deep. But Marla had fallen for 13 seconds. And when she landed, she wasn't in her room anymore. She wasn't in her house. She wasn't in her world. She was in the 6th dimension, a place stitched between realities, a place made of hunger, a place where every thread was a vein, and every vein led to something that wanted to eat her. Falling should feel like motion, wind, speed, gravity. But Marla's fall felt like stillness, like she was suspended in a drop of amber, sinking without moving, breathing without air, thinking without thought. The world around her was gone, not replaced, not transformed, simply absent. And then without warning, the fall ended. Not with an impact, not with a landing, but with a sound. A soft, wet thump, like a heartbeat pressed against the inside of a wall. Chapter 2. The 6th dimension. Marla opened her eyes. She was lying on something smooth and cold. It looked like stone. It felt like skin. The ground beneath her pulsed faintly, as if something enormous was breathing far below the surface. She scrambled to her feet, and the world revealed itself. The 6th dimension was not a place. It was a wound, a vast, endless expanse of shifting geometry. Structures that bent like fabric, towers that swayed like seaweed, and pathways that curled into spirals before straightening again. The sky was a swirling mass of colors that didn't exist in the human spectrum. Bruised purples, sickly greens, and a deep, throbbing red that pulsed like a heartbeat. There were no stars, only holes, circular voids that opened and closed like pupils, watching her, blinking, judging, waiting. The air tasted metallic, like blood on a penny. Every breath felt too heavy, as if the atmosphere was thick with something alive. And beneath it all, a constant, rhythmic sound. Thump, thump, thump. A heartbeat, but not hers. Marla took a step, The ground rippled beneath her foot, as if reacting to her weight. She froze. The ripple traveled outward, spreading across the landscape like a shock wave, and somewhere in the distance, something answered, a slow, deliberate thud. Then another, footsteps, heavy, measured, unhurried, coming closer. Marla turned. At first she saw nothing, just the shifting horizon, the pulsing sky, the breathing ground. Then the shadows moved. Something enormous stepped into view. Not fast, not aggressive, just present. A silhouette against the swirling sky, tall, wrongly tall. Its legs, 8 of them, unfolded from the darkness like the limbs of a marionette being lowered onto a stage. Each leg ended in a sharp, hooked point that pierced the ground with a wet, sucking sound. Its torso was humanoid, but stretched, ribs protruding like the bars of a cage, expanding and contracting with each slow breath. Its head was a mass of twitching mandibles and stitched flesh, with a single vertical slit running down the center. The slit opened. A red glow seeped out. Not light. Hunger. Marla stumbled backward. The creature didn't react. It simply stood there, towering over her, its 8 legs arranged in a perfect circle around its body. Then, without moving a muscle, it vanished. Marla spun around. Nothing. Silence. Then a breath. Warm, wet. Right behind her. She turned slowly. The creature was there, standing inches away. Its mandibles twitched. Its slit pulsed. Its tendrils unfurled from its back like strands of living thread, each ending in a tiny mouth that whispered in a language she didn't know. She ran. The landscape shifted beneath her feet. Pathways twisting, walls bending, the ground rising and falling like waves. She sprinted across a bridge made of bone. She climbed a tower that felt like cartilage. She dove through a tunnel lined with something that pulsed like a throat. Every time she looked back, the creature was gone. Every time she looked forward, it was there, not running, not chasing, just arriving. Teleporting through her fear, feeding on it, tracking it, following it like a scent. Marla ducked into a narrow crevice between 2 shifting walls. She pressed her back against the surface, warm, vibrating, alive, and tried to quiet her breathing. For a moment, there was silence. Then she heard it, a soft, wet crack. Then another, then dozens. The wall beside her bulged, split, and something crawled out, small, malformed, twitching. A creature no bigger than a cat, with too many legs and a face that looked almost human, but stretched, melted, wrong. Its eyes were milky white. Its mouth opened, and in Marla's own voice it whispered, "Run!" More cracks, more bulges, more spawnlings crawling out of the walls, the floor, the ceiling, all whispering, all urging her forward, all herding her, toward something, toward him. Marla ran until her lungs burned, until her legs trembled, until her vision blurred. But no matter how far she went, no matter how fast she moved, the Threadwalker was always there. Slow, patient, inevitable. And the 6th dimension, this living, breathing nightmare, was only beginning to reveal its horrors. Some creatures hunt, some creatures stalk, some creatures wait. But the Threadwalker did none of these. It knew where Marla was, knew where she would run, knew the rhythm of her breath, the stutter of her heartbeat, the taste of her fear. It didn't chase her. It claimed her, as if she had always belonged to it. Chapter 3. The Threadwalker. Marla stumbled into a clearing, if it could be called that. The ground here was smoother, flatter, almost polished. The sky above churned in slow spirals, like a storm trapped behind glass. She collapsed to her knees, gasping. Her lungs burned, her legs trembled, her throat felt raw from screaming. For a moment she thought she'd lost it. For a moment she believed she'd outrun the impossible. Then the air changed. It thickened, darkened, vibrated. A low hum rolled across the clearing deep enough to rattle her bones. Marla lifted her head, and the threadwalker stepped into view. It emerged from the shifting horizon like a nightmare peeling itself out of a dream. 8 legs, impossibly long, jointed at unnatural angles, each ending in a hooked point that pierced the ground with a wet, sucking sound. Its torso was humanoid, but stretched far beyond human proportions. The ribcage expanded and contracted like a living cage, each bone glistening with a thin sheen of fluid. Its skin was a patchwork of textures, slick chitin, stitched flesh, pulsing veins, and patches of something that looked disturbingly like woven thread. Its head was the worst part. A mass of mandibles, twitching and clicking in patterns that felt like language. No eyes, only a vertical slit running down the center of its face. The slit opened. A red glow seeped out. Not light. Hunger. From its back sprouted dozens of thin, thread-like tendrils, each ending in a tiny lipless mouth that whispered constantly. Not words, just sound. A chorus of soft, wet syllables that made Marla's skin crawl. The creature took one slow step toward her. Marla scrambled backward. It took another step. She turned and ran. The ground beneath her shifted, rising and falling like waves. The sky pulsed. The air thickened. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. She felt it. The hum, the vibration, the pressure in her skull. She dove behind a jagged outcropping of bone-like stone. Silence. Then, a breath. Warm, wet, right behind her. She turned. The threadwalker stood inches away. It hadn't moved. It had arrived, not through space, through fear. It teleported to the place where her terror peaked, drawn to it like a moth to flame. Every time she panicked, it appeared. Every time she thought she was safe, it materialized behind her. It wasn't chasing her. It was reading her. The ground around her cracked, split, and the spawnlings crawled out, dozens of them, small malformed creatures with too many legs and faces that looked almost human, stretched, melted, wrong. Their eyes were milky white, their mouths twitched, their bodies pulsed with the same red glow as the threadwalker's slit. They surrounded her, not attacking, not biting, just herding, pushing her backward, toward the threadwalker, toward its open rib cage, toward the place where the bones spread like fingers. Marla screamed. The spawnlings whispered back, in her own voice. "Don't run. It's hungry. It wants you." The creature leaned down. Its mandibles clicked. Its slit widened. And for the first time, Marla heard its voice. Not a sound, a feeling, a pressure in her skull, a whisper inside her bones. "You are the thread." Marla stumbled backward. What does that mean?" The creature's tendrils writhed. The whisper deepened. "You are the thread. You are the path. You are the meal." The spawnlings closed in. The threadwalker's ribcage opened wider. And Marla realized something horrifying. It wasn't just hunting her. It was weaving her into something alive, something ancient, something hungry. Marla ran again, not because she thought she could escape, but because instinct demanded it, because every cell in her body screamed to flee. But the threadwalker didn't rush, didn't chase, didn't even move. It simply watched her go, because it knew something she didn't. In the 6th dimension, There was nowhere to run, and every path led back to it. Marla didn't remember how long she ran. Time didn't behave normally here. Distances stretched and collapsed. Paths folded in on themselves. Landmarks shifted when she blinked. But eventually her legs gave out. Her lungs burned. Her throat felt raw. Her heartbeat throbbed in her ears like a drum calling predators. She collapsed against a wall, or what she thought was a wall. It pulsed beneath her palm, warm, soft, alive. She jerked her hand back. The wall shivered, and then it opened. Chapter 4. The Maze of Mouths. A seam split down the center of the wall, peeling apart like lips parting for a breath. Behind it was a corridor, long, narrow, curved. The walls glistened with a thin sheen of moisture. The floor was soft, like padded flesh. The ceiling pulsed with a slow rhythmic beat. A heartbeat, not hers, not human, something deeper, something older, something hungry. Marla stepped inside, not because she wanted to, because the spawnlings were behind her, dozens of them, whispering in her voice. Go, go, go. The corridor sealed shut behind her. She was inside the maze. The maze was not built. It was grown. The walls were layers of living tissue, muscle, sinew, and something that looked disturbingly like stitched skin. Veins pulsed beneath the surface, carrying a thick, dark fluid that glowed faintly with each beat. Every few feet, the walls bulged, twitched, shifted, and then she saw why. Embedded in the walls were mouths, hundreds of them, some small and lipless, some wide and tooth-filled, some shaped like human mouths, some shaped like nothing she had ever seen. They whispered constantly, not words, just breath. A chorus of soft, wet exhalations that followed her like a breeze. The air tasted like copper and rot. The floor squished beneath her feet. The ceiling dripped, and somewhere deep within the maze, something enormous moved, slowly, deliberately, waiting. Marla pressed forward, trying not to touch the walls. But the maze had other plans. A mouth near her shoulder opened, wide, too wide. Rows of needle-like teeth glistened with saliva. It inhaled sharply, a wet, sucking sound that pulled at her hair, her clothes, her skin. She stumbled backward. Another mouth opened behind her, then another, then dozens, all inhaling, all pulling, all tasting her. She screamed. The maze exhaled. A hot, fetid gust of air blasted her forward, sending her stumbling deeper into the corridor. The mouths laughed, not with joy, with hunger. The corridor split into 3 paths. Marla chose the middle one. The maze didn't like that. The walls convulsed. The floor rippled. The left and right corridors sealed shut instantly, swallowed by the living tissue. The path she chose stretched, lengthened, twisted. The heartbeat in the walls grew louder, faster, closer. She realized something horrifying. The maze wasn't a structure, it was a throat, and she was being swallowed. Do you want to know what happens next? If so, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because it really helps out the channel. If you want the next part of the story, comment next part in the comments. We have new stories releasing every day, so until then, haunt you later.